Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert continue Batman's Europe adventures as the Dark Knight reunites with an old mentor to track down Equilibrium, who continues her murderous mission to kill all of the people Batman has ever saved. Tom Taylor continues to build a really thrilling adventure as Batman's past returns in the form of Henry Ducard, an addition which furthers the story into really interesting directions, hinting at the idea that Equilibrium, whoever she is, was actually trained by Henry and has been seen in the man's eyes as an equal to even Bruce. Taylor also provided us with some more detective goodness and even having Batman take a back seat for Bruce Wayne himself solving the crimes. While we did get a little bit of what Equilibrium's deal is, I hoped we'd get a little bit more time devoted to her, especially since as of next issue we are halfway through this miniseries and there really hasn't been much devoted to giving her a reason behind her killings, with her only saying that these people Batman saved shouldn't exist, and I'd like to know why, and I'm surprised we haven't actually gotten that yet, and hopefully the next issue will provide that. Andy Kubert's artwork again was top-notch and action-packed, taking full advantage of Equilibrium and her team's brutal violence towards people Batman has saved, as well as some small exciting looking set pieces like Bruce hanging off a moving train, which is a little bit of a trope for when you go to Europe. Apparently that's something you have to do, as we've seen in countless pieces of media throughout the years. Batman the Detective Issue 2 was another thrilling installment in Batman's adventure through Europe, tying the new Equilibrium threat to Bruce's past and to one of his past mentors, but not really doing much else for the woman's backstory or origin. I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10. Batman the Detective Issue 2 finds Batman interrogating the terrorist he caught at Big Ben, knowing the man's name and everything about him, wanting him to reveal who he's working for. The man doesn't know, pleading with Batman that he isn't lying, only knowing that the woman wears a mask and pays well. The man keeps struggling on the grapple cable, with Batman telling him to stop, but it's too late as the cable snaps under his weight, causing the man to plummet to the ground. Batman shoots another grapple around his leg, catching him before dumping him out on the ground. The man quickly gets up, running away from the area as Squire knows he's getting away. Batman knows that that's the idea since he'll lead them to the person behind these attacks. Squire finds this terribly elaborate as Batman asks how old she is, learning she's only 14 and it would be irresponsible for her to be at home, like the hero wants her to be, since she's got no parents or anyone to look after her. Getting in the Batmobile, Squire says that she now lives with Knight and it's not a bad life since they help people. She asks about the Batmobile, wondering if he had the car in England already, finding that he has cars in most major cities around the world. He asks why she stays with Beryl, learning that she was in a foster family that was quite lacking when it came to being real human beings, with the family being quite cliched in their cruelty towards her, but one day Beryl showed up to rescue her. Batman asks why her, making Squire realize that he's quite judgmental, since why not her? Deep underground, Batman sits with the recovering Beryl, who says that she chose Amina because she's talented and she was hurting at the time. Bruce knows that there is something she's not telling her as Amina comes back with lollipops from the doctor. Beryl hopes that she brought them to share as Batman asks if she's being treated well. Beryl says that they are treating her well, not believing this place actually existed under Piccadilly Circus, asking how Batman found out about this place. Batman says that years ago his mentor brought him there when he was bleeding out and they treat patients no questions asked. He reveals that he's used them and their discretions a few times over the years and the people after her won't ever find her there, and he's going to shut them down before Beryl is even discharged from the hospital. Batman pulls out his tablet showing the tracking on the man he let go, showing that he's moving very fast. Beryl knows that he's on the Eurostar train heading for France, offering Batman a lollipop. In Paris, the man is brought before his masked leader Equilibrium, who doesn't believe he escaped from Batman, wanting the man stripped down and searched. The others pull his clothes off as the man says that he cleaned himself and he's not bugged. The woman puts on a pair of goggles and shows that the tracker is actually inside him on his chest. She tells her men to scrub the site and destroy anything they can't carry as they are moving out in 3 minutes. The man asks for his clothes, but the woman says that he's not coming with them. Equilibrium stops, saying the man almost died, but then he said he was saved by Batman. The man realizes what this means, but it's too late as she shoots the man in the head, saying that he shouldn't exist. On a train, Bruce continues tracking the man, learning the tracker has stopped, knowing the man is either sleeping or something else. There's a knock at the cabin door, but when Bruce goes to investigate, there's no one there, but he finds footprints on the windowsill across the hall, knowing this is deliberate. Climbing up onto the roof of the speeding train, Bruce hears feet running along the top of the locomotive in front of him, smelling a recognizable combination of cigars and cologne. He recognizes the man he is chasing, and he could have masked himself, but he doesn't want to, since he's playing with Bruce, not Batman. Bruce catches up to the man in the dining cart, knowing that it's Henry Ducard, his old mentor. Bruce is quick to shut the man up before he calls him Batman, but Henry tells him to calm down, knowing the secret in secret identity is key, but they have the room to themselves. However, there are still windows that people can look through. Bruce lets him go, and Henry gets himself a drink, saying that he's been following Batman since the day before, knowing that he would have come to England after the plane crash since he's been piecing this together for weeks, thanks to the other murders. He knows the group is killing people Batman saved, and soon the media will make that connection as well, and there'll be panic all over the world. He wonders if Bruce was going to ever contact him when he got to France, but Bruce wasn't, upsetting Henry, since he could be useful in tracking down these people, and just because Bruce was left in an alley alone doesn't mean he has to be alone forever. Henry says that they saved all of London together once, and he saved Bruce's life. Bruce hasn't forgotten that, and also hasn't forgotten that he turned him in, but Henry knows besides that, he's still in the city and Bruce should ask for help. Bruce knows that they aren't friends, and he isn't friends with a killer, but Henry knows that he's both friends and a killer, but if it helps Bruce's ethics, more people will die without his help, and he's been pardoned for his crimes. The train pulls into Paris, so Henry tells Bruce to go and get his suitcases before some porter gets a face full of nerve gas or something, wanting his young friend to come find him later that night in the city and bring a lot of money. Bruce asks where he's staying, but Henry doesn't say, telling Bruce that there's no fun in that. Elsewhere, Batman finds the dead man he's been tracking, surveying the room and finding equipment was once there, but it has been quickly moved. He calls in the dead body anonymously before tracking down Henry again, finding him at Sullivan Hotel, having booked under the name of Bruce Wayne and his credit card. Henry asks Bruce if he worked it out, and Batman says there's no need to, since part of Ducard's agreement with Interpol was keeping him apprised of his whereabouts, and he's got people in Interpol to tell him those whereabouts. Batman knows that finding Henry Ducard isn't the problem. The problem was he wasn't quick enough, as minutes before he actually found him, Equilibrium found Henry, telling him that he dug too deep and he was once saved by the Bat, which means he should not exist. Henry says that the woman was always unstable, but this is messed up and what she's doing won't help her cause. The woman says this is about Equilibrium as Henry attacks, killing a few of the men before being tackled towards the balcony. Batman arrives and Equilibrium is alerted, telling her men to get ready to move as Henry says Batman has a hard time letting go and they won't escape him. The villain says they will as she shoots Henry, knowing Batman will be too busy saving him. Henry's body falls from the balcony and Batman races after him, catching him before he hits the ground, but it's too late as he is already dead, while Equilibrium says that Batman always saves them.